All right, today we're pulling back the curtain on a tradition that's, about 2,500 years old to see what really made ancient Greek theater tick. We're going to go backstage, look at the wild festivals, the incredible technology, and the absolute geniuses who created an art form that, believe it or not, still shapes how we tell stories today. So let's dive in. Okay, to really get a handle on Greek theater, you've got to forget everything you picture about, quiet, stuffy auditoriums. I want you to imagine something else. Picture an event with the citywide madness of a Super Bowl, combined with the artistic glamour of the Oscars. And then on top of all that, make it a multi-day religious holiday that shuts down the whole city. Yeah, that's the scale we're talking about. So at the very heart of this massive spectacle was something called the City Dionysia. It was this annual spring festival, all dedicated to Dionysus, the god of wine, theater, and, general ecstasy. And this wasn't just some little side event. This was the absolute cultural centerpiece of Athenian life. I mean, for 5 or 6 days straight, the entire city would pretty much just shut down. This festival was the main event of the whole year. It was this amazing moment where religion, civic pride, and a seriously fierce artistic showdown all came together in one gigantic public party. And make no mistake, this was a competition with some serious bragging rights on the line. 3 hand-picked tragedians would each present a whole trilogy of serious plays, and then they'd cap it all off with a lighthearted, often kind of raunchy, satire play as a bit of comic relief. You also had 5 comedians competing with a single play each, and the winners? They were chosen by a jury of citizens who had to swear an oath to be impartial. Winning meant incredible glory. The stakes were just unbelievably high. The whole thing went down at the massive open-air Theatre of Dionysus, which was literally built into the side of the Acropolis. And get this, it could hold up to 17,000 spectators. So don't think Broadway theater, think more like a modern sports arena. And a huge space like that, well, it presented some pretty serious technical challenges. So how in the world do you perform for an audience of 17,000 people without any microphones or giant video screens? Well, the Greeks, being the innovators they were, developed a pretty sophisticated piece of tech to solve this exact problem: the theatrical mask. You see, the mask wasn't just some prop. It was the absolute core of the performance. It actually started out in religious ceremonies, and it served as this bridge between the spiritual world and the world of theater. It was a tool of pure transformation, turning a regular actor into a god, a hero, or a terrifying monster right before the audience's eyes. And what's so fascinating is just how practical these masks were. They basically had 3 crucial jobs. First, character ID. A quick mask change and boom, one actor could play a bunch of different parts. Second, emotional expression. Those big, exaggerated features could broadcast a single, powerful emotion all the way to the cheap seats. And third, and this is genius, voice amplification. The mouth was actually shaped like a small megaphone, helping to project the actor's voice across that enormous space. The masks also let the audience know instantly what kind of show they were in for. You could tell the genre just by looking at them. Tragic masks? They were dignified, solemn, reflecting the serious nature of the story. Comic masks, on the other hand, were often totally grotesque and absurd, with these huge, crazy grins just designed to get a laugh right away. So the City Dionysia was this incredible creative battlefield, and a few titans really came to define the art of tragedy. It's time to meet the 3 masters who were constantly competing for that top prize: Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides. Now, these guys weren't just similar artists, they were rivals with wildly different styles. First, you had Aeschylus, the originator, the guy whose style felt grand and almost like a religious pageant. Then came Sophocles, the master craftsman, the most decorated playwright of his time, who treated tragedy like a perfectly engineered machine. His plots are basically the ancestor of every good screenplay. And finally, you had Euripides, the innovator, who audiences sometimes found straight up shocking because of his realistic and deeply human characters. Aeschylus is the oldest of the 3, and his style can feel the most, ancient to us now. But his language, it was described as being completely pyrotechnic and intoxicating. He literally invented the form of classical tragedy, and his plays are just packed with this incredible verbal fireworks display that must have been absolutely electric to hear live. Then you've got Sophocles, who was basically the ultimate crowd pleaser. He was the most successful playwright of his day, and he knew exactly how to build dramatic tension to perfection. He fine-tuned the tragic formula, but some critics felt there was this latent cruelty in his perfectly constructed, merciless plots. You know, the kind of clockwork precision you'd find in a really good psychological thriller today. And finally, there's Euripides. This guy was the radical. He took these huge mythical figures and he portrayed them as complex, flawed, and totally recognizable human beings. And what's shocking is that he was often underappreciated by the festival judges in his own time. But today, he's considered the most modern and relatable of the three, really, the father of character-driven drama. So why does any of this matter now, right? Well, because these ancient performances weren't just some historical curiosity. The innovations that happened on that stage in Athens created a blueprint for storytelling that we are absolutely still using today. I mean, its legacy is everywhere, from Roman plays and Renaissance drama all the way to modern experimental theater. Every single time you watch a movie or a TV show about a deeply flawed, complex hero, you're basically seeing the ghost of Euripides. And the whole idea of a mask hiding one identity while revealing another, that is a direct line from the Theatre of Dionysus straight to the modern superhero. Which really brings us to one final thought. After 2,500 years, we are still completely captivated by these same fundamental stories. Stories about flawed people making really difficult choices. And it makes you wonder about a question an ancient critic once asked. Did their art imitate life, or have our lives been imitating their art ever since?